Hi, I'm Riley and I'm a creative coach. In the middle of a busy life, just dropped the kids off to school, just about to go shopping, dropped something into my mum who had emergency eye surgery yesterday. And how do we fit it all in? How do we fit time for creativity and making time for the magic to happen? How do we fit it in the midst of our busy life with work and Zoom calls, trying to stay fit and healthy, cooking, kind of all the chores around the house, other projects you might have on? How do we keep it all together and keep our ears and hearts open for that still small whisper of the muse, or magic, or inspiration, or whatever you want to call it? In this video, I'm going to take you through a couple of things that work for me. I'm going to show you some basic things and hopefully that you can implement really quickly, little to no cost, to make space to allow that in. All right, I'm going to keep driving and keep us all safe. So it's a lovely, bright but crisp morning here in Ireland this morning. 1-2 degrees Celsius, but the sun's out, and because it's still winter, it's very low, so that's why the sunglasses on, even though it's at my back. It's hitting me in the mirrors and reflecting off all the stuff around, so I'll keep them on for now. It's okay. I had an amazing call with an artist based in the UK, and she was telling me about the fact that she'd written a children's book and illustrated. And one thing she said that really struck me, she said, it just fell out of me. And that really reminded me of the TED Talk by Elizabeth Gilbert. And she talks about the fact that she talks about chasing the muse and being available for the muse. And then she also went on and wrote a book called Big Magic, which is about kind of connecting to that creative flow and being in the space where you're meant to be so that you can create the art that's coming to you, and kind of being an antenna and like a radio, kind of tuning into those moments. I think one of the most beautiful pieces of the creative process is when we're comfortable with our tools, our instruments. We have at least a level of skill and like talent, and it's knit together and potentially years of practice. And when we get into that moment of kind of a flow state, or being able to understand and appreciate the inspiration when it hits, when it lands for us. Briefly back to Elizabeth Gilbert and her TED Talk. There's a really great piece where she starts to describe an American poet called Ruth Stone and her experience when she was young of hearing the poetry coming towards her across the landscape, like a huge wind and the earth shaking underneath her. And she knew that her one job was to run as fast as she could to get to her pencil and piece of paper to write it down, because it was going to flow through her. And she would transcribe it and get it down. And she said there was lots of times where she missed that. It thundered across the landscape, and as she was rushing back, it just flowed through her and on the way to find another poet. She also described the fact that at one point she was running back to the house and she could feel it starting to flow through her, and she just got to her pen with a piece of paper and the last of it just left her, and she reached out and grabbed it and started pulling it back into herself, and she started transcribing it down, and it was transcribed down word for word, absolutely flawlessly, but in reverse, completely backwards. But it was a complete poem down on the page. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't often have as visceral an experience with the creative flow state or the muse or inspiration, but I definitely appreciate the moments when I get into flow, when the world seems to disappear around me and time just passes really quickly, and I get out the other side and there is something in front of me. There is a piece of work. There is a piece ready to be teased into something else. I think it's really important for us to have our tools accessible and ready. And that's what I'm going to take you through next. How do we always have the tools at hand waiting for us? Whether that's a simple instrument, somewhere to take down notes, or using our phones to voice record an idea, or a sketchbook. And also, how do we create the space in our day How do we create the space in our day, in our lives, to make that work? How are you, boss?
Not too bad.
Can I have a small Americano?
No worries. Do you want it in the 8 ounce?
Actually, 8 ounces is fine. 8
Yeah.
ounces is grand.
No
And
worries. Any just black?
have you got another ice cube?
Yeah.
Magic.
No worries.
And as you can see, I spend plenty of time in the car. So one thing I've always got on hand is a notebook and pen ready to go whenever I need to take notes and figure it out. Okay, let's get this up to see my mother. And another thing I can't even demonstrate because I try not to use my phone before 12 o'clock. It's not even 10 o'clock now, so I actually left it at home today. But one thing where I do find the phone helpful is actually to make voice notes, so voice memos, or use your video and your camera to capture ideas, so capture inspiration, whether that's a scene or a shot or a sunrise, or just to remember information. I have to say I love using the Notes app and just be able to grab the text from a book that I'm reading and maybe I'll pull it straight into my notes. It can do the character recognition, so you don't have to type the whole thing up. So that just makes things smooth and seamless. I heard a great story about the use of the Voice Notes app on an iPhone. Billie Eilish, in a session where she was talking with her brother Phineas about how they produced her second album, that she was in Australia and she was fascinated by the kind of beeping sound that went on when you were to cross the road, or at least it indicated to kind of blind users that they could cross the road. And she recorded that, and they actually turned it into kind of a percussive element in one of the songs. And I just think it's a cool story of just a little bit of inspiration that somehow later on, as a seed gets woven into a piece of creativity. So definitely, I'm not adverse to using phones. I just struggle with the amount of time that I've lost to doom scrolling and shorts and Instagram. So that's the piece that I'm pushing back against. Not that they're not useful as tools, they're not brilliant supercomputers to have in our pockets. It's just when the attention is taken away and we lose all that time and energy that could go into something useful, productive, and like producing something wonderful. So I'll still be using my phone. Don't mind me. All right. Better go bring this food and flowers up to my mother. Don't worry, it's only me. All right, that's it. Quick stop into my parents, see my mum. Had eye surgery yesterday and she's doing fine. So we'll carry on now to get her prescription to the chemist. So in the busyness of life, it's really easy to miss those small prompts and those small opportunities to think about something creative and to push into it. But hopefully by just adding in a few layers of being able to capture it and being able to make space for it, that there's an opportunity for us to, make the most of that and to get into the flow, get into the rhythm of making it part of our life. I actually think that it's something that we need to practice. Like it's an obvious practice, and I think it's important to fit it in there, and also to remind ourselves that it's a thing that we want to do. So, let me know if you want a couple of exercises, because I can definitely make some suggestions on how to build it in, how to build those reps, and how to make it part of your day, part of your week, so that you're paying attention and making deliberate choices. All right, back at the shops again for a second time, off to deliver a prescription. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so that's most of my tasks done for this morning, and it's 11:15. So I'm going to get home and do a bit of work in the office. So that'll include making time for editing this video, shooting any more of it that needs to happen, and kind of general admin around emails, etc. But the dogs haven't been walked and nothing's been done around the house yet, so that all has to happen as well. Okay, more driving. I won't record any of this. I'll catch you later. Does this look conducive to creative work? I haven't cleaned up since Christmas. So over Christmas, I was using this as somewhere to come and kind of entertain myself, doing a little bit of work. I've just reorganized this. That's why all the cables are out, because I brought one of my synths down to my bandmate's house and decided to put this one here in place. So I had to rewire it. Cables are out. Everything's a bit of a heap. Move the light out of the way. I'm going to stay at this desk. Now, I did dump all my books here from this morning's reading and exercises and stuff. But look, do you think I can get anything done over here? The answer is no. So I'm going to clean it up. You grab a cup of tea. This is going to take a while. It's going to take a while. I'll put it on fast forward. While I'm cleaning the office, let me explain how I can help as a creative coach. Look, I know that between keeping the boss happy, sorting the washing, and trying to remember if you've paid the TV license, finding time for creativity can feel about as likely as getting a decent summer in Ireland. But here's the thing, those brilliant creative sparks of yours, they're still there, just waiting for a chance to shine. Whether you're a parent racing between school runs, an office warrior buried in emails, or somebody who just wants to feel properly alive again. I help busy people like you weave creativity back into your everyday life. No fancy art degrees required, just an open mind and a beverage of choice. Fancy bringing a bit more magic back into your everyday? Let's chat about making creativity part of your life again. There's a link in the description. Now, is now a little bit more conducive of getting some work done. I still have more tours to do though. Okay, I'll see you in a sec. We have a beautiful black lab retriever, and a couple of times a year she sheds a lot and we have to hoover every day. So hoover's out as well just to get this done. And the rest of the house to get done too. So I'm still not done. There's a few more things left on my list to get done, but clearing the decks is all important for making space for creativity, for hearing that voice and getting on with it. Another thing that's important is to be ready to go at any time. And this is our living room. But as you can see, Paula has quickly converted it back into her studio this morning. She has a little space, that's her studio, and it really is quite small. I mean, she was able to work in there, but when she migrated back onto bigger pieces of work, she just needed the table and she needed all of the light that we have here in the kitchen. So yet again, this morning, this is her space, and at some point later on, we'll put it off the table, we'll have dinner. And then tomorrow it'll be your studio. But having our stuff ready in the right place, knowing where it is, being able to pull it out on a minute's notice without having to use too much brain power, just means that we're at a place where we can engage our creativity. When we think about it, the less obstacles and barriers we have in the way, the quicker it is we're going to be able to connect to that piece that's flowing into us and wanting to flow, in Paula's case, onto canvas. In my case, video, photography, music. And sometimes it's a juggle to have all those things there. And I'm sure it is for you as well. But by being a little bit disciplined and a little bit organized, you can make it happen. We do it all the time. So it does work. So I'm just getting to sit down with a cup of coffee for the first time since that frantic morning of picking up the kids, going to the shops, visiting my mum, cleaning up the office, doing some hoovering. And I have to say, it feels so nice to sit down at this space now it's clear. And I kind of just want to talk to you a little bit more about notebooks. I keep one in the car just in case inspiration hits when I'm walking around Tesco. But I also keep one beside my desk. This is just for jotting notes, either when I'm watching YouTube or researching, but just in case something hits me. and I can just get it down really quickly. There's a separate one from this one over here is my to-do list. I don't put notes on that. It's just a to-do list. I strike it off and I move on to the next page. So I'm not fussy about that. So this one's here for any time I'm going to learn. I know lots of people also keep a notebook beside their bed. I think lots of creatives and people looking for inspiration, it comes when we relax, and our most relaxed state is when we're asleep. I can think of at least two examples of this. Mary Shelley attributes her dreams for some of the stories behind Frankenstein, and she would wake up in the middle of the night and actually write in a notebook like some of the stuff that was happening. And the same thing, Robert Louis Stevenson says he was told with a little people in his head while he's sleeping some of the story around Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So there are two famous creative examples of a chance when you can keep a notebook handy at all times. So give it a try. Like, some of my notebooks are very cheap, and it's just a couple of pieces of paper. It shouldn't be a big deal. I'm sure you can organize that. I'm sure there's space beside your bed. Speaking of being relaxed, I think it's really important that we're able to step away from the busyness and take time to unwind. And I want to go back to a topic that I have made a few videos on and bring up regularly, but you're going to need to put your phone down. All that scrolling, while you think it might be relaxing, it's just constantly stimulating you and giving you things to think about, maybe even things to worry about. Maybe you're seeing news kind of being pushed on you that, while it's great to be aware, like, I don't think we need that awareness all day and all night. You can deliberately go and choose times when you're going to go and investigate and find out what the state of the world is without being hit at every angle from it. So it's not about not being aware of what's going on in the world, but it is about being careful about what you let in. Personally, I've gone from having about 6 hours of screen time a day on my phone to about 90 minutes. I've been really intentional. I don't pick up my phone before midday. I only use kind of apps just for posting, a little bit of kind of back and forward if needs be, if people are contacting me. But I try to keep that off my phone. I try to be intentional about the time when I use it, maybe on my computer when I'm sitting down in work time, but I try to get around it. I'll make a whole other video on how to get away from the phone. I actually have one. I'm going to link it here. It's how I deleted Instagram off my phone for a whole year. The attention merchants are trying to grab our attention, and they're selling our attention, our eyeballs, our time, our energy to the highest bidder. And while you're getting entertained, and often for free, and don't get me wrong, we're on YouTube, so I totally get that it's the dynamic of how this works, but I think it's really important that we pay attention to how that works and what it is we're trading. I still haven't gotten to the point where I think that I'm paying for YouTube Premium and getting rid of ads, because they've now said they'll push important ads to me. And if I'm paying for it, I don't want to see any ads. Thanks very much. Even if you've never experienced this kind of creative prompting, or like that, the voice of the muse, or whatever name you want to put on it, or you've missed it in the past, we're not here to judge, and we're not here to beat ourselves up. This is about taking a deep breath and just creating space for you to be able to be creative, for you to be intentional. And like I've said before, even 15 minutes a day, or a couple of 15 minutes strung together over a weekend, and I think you're going to find yourself feeling more creative, more inspired, more empowered to put together the things that are important to you around your work. So even when we do make space and implement things to make it easy for us to record those moments of inspiration when they come, we still have a responsibility to take those seeds, to take those little threads and to start weaving them into something bigger, into a bigger project. You might have gotten a melody or a line for a song, or the idea of a character for a book, or a new scene to write. You might have sketched up some basic ideas and some thoughts about what your next picture is going to look like. Whatever that piece is and however that inspiration strikes, you still have to take that and make time for the bigger piece. I previously spoke about having hard drives full of started songs and seeds and those ideas. But I do think it's important to then continue to make time to allow those to evolve and to open up and to be just ready for the next step, for taking them into that bigger process, whether that's collaboration or it's yourself knitting it down, like having time to build that out and to turn it into something. Hey, I promised that there would be a final tip, and here we go. Not so long ago, I used to have my keyboard over here, and it wasn't always turned on, and it wasn't always plugged in, and it wasn't always ready at hand. So what I did recently is actually installed a shelf under my desk where I can have it here ready to go, and I'm ready to just like play away. Now it's not very loud, but you can, and like I said, my notebook's here with a pen, so anytime I'm ready to take notes, anything interesting comes up while watching YouTube, it's here. I just hope for you that 2025 is going to be an amazing creative year, just full of wonderful possibilities, and that the inspiration, the muse, the big magic would happen for you more and more. Please find some time to do that. And just, if I can help in any way, DM me on Instagram or put a comment in down below or book in for a session, and we'll take you through building out that strategy and help you kind of overcome your blockages to get to a point where you're all of the creative that you want to be, that you're called to be, that you're inspired to be for 2025. Okay, till the next video. See you.